So what do you do when it's another dreary fall day? You had planned to spend the autumn in Europe with your husband sipping cappuccinos, but instead you're in isolation with COVID cases on the rise. The news is all kinds of crazy, and it just might be this way for another year. Why, you buy a Longarm, of course. Now, before I unbox this, let's back up a bit. If you don't know me, my name is Karen Brown of Just Get It Done Quilts, and if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. At the beginning of 2020, I made some goals for myself, and one of them was to be a better long-arm quilter. And though I didn't have the space for one of my own, I did have access to a rental unit at a local store, and I have a friend who generously allows me to use hers too. So I purchased an online course from WhirlsNSwirls, and I was looking into long-arm workshops. Then the rest of 2020 happened, and besides all the isolation and loneliness, I lost access to those two long arms. My quilts were piling up, and to top it off, I had a classroom space that was not going to be filled with students anytime soon. So when my phone pinged with an email announcing a sale on Apqs long arms, I jumped and purchased a Millie. As soon as I placed the order, Jennifer from Apqs contacted me and walked me through my order. Because I'm in Canada, there's a couple of extra steps with importing the unit, and Jennifer had it all laid out with all the correct paperwork, and it went off like clockwork. The shipping department sent me this photo of the boxes I would receive, so I knew what to expect. And they told me to open this one first. I was excited before, but this bow just took it up a notch. I always read the instructions. Not only does it tell you what steps to take and what order to take them in, it also tells you all the parts you're going to receive, and I always like to lay them all out and account for them first. Tracy Russell from WhirlsNSwirls, my local Apqs dealer, offered to help me put it together, but with COVID restrictions, that was impossible. The instructions say to take a good look on how you're going to orient your machine. Now, my machine is 10 feet wide. You can see my rails are down on the ground, and that's going to take up a lot of the width. I've decided to put it up against my desk. It could go against the wall, but then I don't have much room on either side. I could have it on this side, orientate it the other way, but I would prefer to have it pushed up against there, and then I could have this space all open. I was able to do the first step myself, measuring myself for the correct table height, and with the biggest wrench I could find, I adjusted the feet. And as this bolt got longer and longer, I realized that I've never quilted on a long arm at the correct height. But after that, I needed help. You could make the table and level it with two people, but luckily I have a third person in my household because that made the job a whole lot easier. We're going to put Millie in its final position before we level it. We put on the carriage, and I purchased the Bliss system for smoother, lighter movement. And they are so slick and smooth, it's hard not to play with them. I used a couple of clamps to stop the carriage from moving while we installed Millie. I kind of gulped when the instructions told me to lay Millie on its back, but after I put on the handles, it was ready to be lifted onto the carriage. We added 2 clamps to the carriage so that Millie wouldn't roll off it while we installed the rollers. My son installed the quilted fans while I took care of Millie. I needed to put the handles on in the back, plug in the encoders, hook up the laser light, and the thread stand. I plugged in the rear encoder, the rear handles, and the power. Then we secured the wires and removed the last bits of packaging. And with a flick of the switch, the lights came on and she was ready to go. I like the bow so much, I put it back on. What can I say? It makes me happy. My machine came with a turbo bobbin winder, as well as some spare bobbins, some pre-wound bobbins, this big spool of glide thread, some spare needles, and some spool nets. And I was good to go. I had also ordered the basic expander pack for ruler work. It took about 2.5 hours for the 3 of us to put it all together, and we made it to the end without any fighting or biting. It was 10 o'clock at night, but I loaded my first quilt on my Millie and plowed in. I know, silly, but I was so excited, and I was anxious to have my Christmas layer cake quilt done for the holidays. You remember that one. You first saw it in my video, No Fail Layer Cake. Quilted fans. This is one of those features, once you try it, you don't want to give it back. My second quilt was one of my ugly ones from my video, What to Do with Ugly Fabric. It was bound and off to a deserving family member within the week. And then I started quilt number 3. Now, I have been long arming on and off for 5 years, but until now, I have avoided ever having to deal with tension. On the rental unit, the owner looked after tension, and when I used my friend's Millie, she always took care of it. But with quilt number 3, I came to realize on the continuum from beginner to experienced, I thought I was somewhere in here, but truly I was much more down here. And in pre-COVID times, when I needed to learn this skill, I would have taken the one-day Apqs new owners course over at WhirlsNSwirls, or I would have found a workshop to sign up for, or a conference to go to, or I would have even hired someone for one-on-one teaching. But I can do none of that right now. Toronto has actually moved from code red up to code gray. Bubbles are gone, and we are not allowed to interact with anybody but our housemates. But I do have access to all the Apqs educational materials, their YouTube channel, their blog, their forum, and their online support. Tracy at WhirlsNSwirls has been a valuable support. I can't thank her enough. And she also has a YouTube channel. And whether you're a long armer or not, go watch her channel. She has these 3 to 5 minute doodle videos that will have you mesmerized. I'll leave a link to her channel in the notes below. So I have started doing daily doodles to get that muscle memory working. And I'm doing long arm exercises with and without the stitch regulator. And now I'm feeling brave enough to start playing with my thread and my tension dial and screws. And I'm also getting ready to load my sugary dew quilt on my machine. And if you want to see how this turns out, stay tuned. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell beside the subscribe button so that YouTube will notify you when I make new videos. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Just Get It Done Quilts, and of course my website, justgetitdonequilts.com. So take care, and I'll see you next time.